She knew things no one had told her. Things no one should know. We called her Chiluba. She came to work for my family when I was a child after my mother fell ill and couldn't keep up with the housework. Chiluba was young and aged 18 and quiet, but there was something about her. People in the village said she was special. Some said gifted. Others said cursed. My father didn't believe in such talk. She's just a hard worker, he said. And she was. Chiluba cleaned, cooked, and cared for my mother like she'd been with us for years. She never complained, and she always knew what needed to be done, even before anyone told her. At first, we thought she was just observant. But then strange things started happening. One morning, Chiluba told my father not to travel to the neighboring village. "There's danger on the road," she said. My father laughed and brushed her off. "You've been listening to too many old women's tales," he said. He left anyway. That afternoon, someone from the village ran to our house, shouting that there had been an accident. My father's cart had tipped over on the narrow road near the river. He wasn't hurt badly, but it was enough to scare him. When he got home, he looked at Chiluba differently. We all did. After that, she started saying things, small, everyday things, that always came true. "The rain will come early today," she'd say, and it would. "Don't eat that fish, it's spoiled," she'd warn, and when we checked, it was. It wasn't just her knowing things, though. She could fix things, too. When my little brother had a fever that wouldn't go away, Chiluba made a paste from some leaves and rubbed it on his chest. By morning, he was running around like nothing had happened. People in the village started coming to her for advice. "What will happen at the market?" they'd ask. "How can I cure this sickness?" Chiluba always had an answer, and it was always right. But not everyone liked her. Some said she was using dark powers. Others whispered that she was too young to know so much, that maybe she wasn't human. My aunt even told my mother, "You should send that girl away. She'll bring bad luck to your family." My mother refused. "She's helped us more than anyone," she said. Then came the day Chiluba warned us about the fire. It was late evening, and she was helping me sort maize in the courtyard. She stopped suddenly, her face pale. "There's going to be a fire," she said. "What fire?" I asked. She didn't answer. She just ran inside and told my father to check the storage hut where we kept the grain. He thought she was being silly, but when he opened the door, he saw a small flame near one of the sacks. It would have spread quickly if he hadn't caught it in time. After that, even my father, who never believed in anything he couldn't see, started calling her the gifted one. Chiluba stayed with us for 2 years before leaving to marry a man from another village. I was sad to see her go, but she said it was time for her to move on. People still talk about her. Some say she's a healer now, traveling from place to place. Others say she disappeared completely, like a spirit. But I know one thing, Chiluba wasn't cursed. She was a blessing, one my family will never forget. Chiluba left, but her presence lingered in our lives, like the faint smell of herbs she used to crush in the kitchen. For a long time after she was gone, things felt quiet. Too quiet. At first, I thought it was just that we missed her. The way she always seemed to know what needed to be done before anyone said it. The way she hummed softly while she worked, combing the house without even trying. But then little things started happening, and I couldn't help but wonder if she was still with us, somehow. One evening, months after she'd left, I was carrying water from the well when I tripped. The pot I was carrying should have shattered, it hit the ground hard, but it didn't. It rolled to the side, completely unharmed. When I picked it up, I saw something strange on the ground where it had fallen, a single green leaf. It was the same kind of leaf Chiluba used to use in her remedies. I brushed it off as a coincidence, but more things happened. When my father fell ill with a cough that wouldn't go away, we didn't have the money to see the healer. My mother boiled water for tea and left it on the table while she prayed for help. When she came back, she swore the tea smelled different, like herbs. After drinking it, my father got better within a few days. "It's Chiluba," my mother said, her voice hushed. "She's watching over us." I didn't know what to think. Part of me wanted to believe it, but another part was scared. If Chiluba could still help us from wherever she was, what else could she do? The turning point came a year later. It was the dry season, and the village was suffering. The river had dried up, and the crops were failing. People were desperate. One day, my aunt, the same one who had told my mother to send Chiluba away, came to our house. "You have to call her back," she said. "She's the only one who can help." "How can I call her?" my mother asked. "She's far away." But my aunt shook her head. "No. Call her spirit. You know she's not like us. She'll hear you." That night, my mother lit a small fire outside and placed a bowl of water beside it. She called Chiluba's name 3 times, then whispered something I couldn't hear. The wind picked up suddenly, even though the air had been still all day. The next morning, the rains came. It wasn't much, just enough to fill the well and soak the ground a little, but it was something. The villagers whispered about it for weeks. My mother never said what she had whispered into the fire, but I saw her smile in a way I hadn't seen since Chiluba left. The rain wasn't the last time we felt her presence. Every now and then, when we needed help the most, something would happen. A broken tool would fix itself overnight. A lost goat would wander back on its own. I don't know where Chiluba is now, or what she's doing. But I believe she's still out there, helping people in her quiet, mysterious way. And I know this: Chiluba wasn't just gifted. She was something more. Something the rest of us will never fully understand.